Yeah, you just have to think about what you want and just get to the point where you're spending your time pretty efficiently and taking out all the things that we talked about that like don't mean anything, like remove that. And are you at the point where you're like full on your client roster and you could fire somebody, maybe get a little better client, but you feel like, okay, I'm kind of tapped out right now, I need to do something else. So then comes like you either need to like have an offer or you need to do something that's at the next level. But it's really scary because that means you have to cut out some of your income to make time for those things. But just understand that it's a temporary cut. You have to like take a step back in order to go several steps forward. And there's many, many times that this has happened. So it's like when you're sitting there and you're stuck at like 10K a month, if you cut out a client or two, you might go down to 6K a month or 7 or wherever, but then you have extra time that you just freed up. Or maybe you can hire somebody that costs a few grand to manage them, and sure, you're profiting less, but then you just bought back your own time. And then you can scale up and maybe you get into the 30s and you're like, okay, I really want to create like an information product now because what I'm doing is really working for me and I know it can help more people. So then you have to start spending money on ads and sacrifice more profit temporarily. And then all of a sudden, then you're like making 6 figures a month if it really crushes. And then at that point, you're like, oh, I need to hire like a big team and I need to like set up something new in my business. I need to open up a new channel. I need to hire somebody to just like get me out there more on podcasts, anything. And just you're sacrificing temporary profit or you're taking in less total income temporarily to make it to the next level. The place where people get stuck is they're very afraid to like take a temporary income or profit hit. So like us right now, like last July, we hit like 305 in 1 month. And ever since then, it like slowly trickled down because I wasn't really, and then like the ad shut off and then we were sitting in like the 170s and I was like, I'm not cool with this anymore because I want to scale. So then I took my time and my energy and my focus away from like some higher ticket projects I could have done. And I created the certification because I was ready for it. And then the month we launched that, we did like 419 grand or 421, something like that. And we've been sitting consistently in like the low to mid 200s since then. And we still haven't run an ad. And now that it's like coming back down a bit, like we need to run ads because people aren't just going to join by themselves. Like they are to an extent because we're doing the more organic stuff like I mentioned, but there's so many different phases where you're going to be scared to take a temporary income or profit hit, but you got to do it. Like, don't do it just out of like hope or somebody told you. Like, you got to have something that's a little bit calculated, like a calculated risk, because you've seen somebody else do it, or you know that like from doing things with clients, these are the problems they struggle with, and you're getting a lot of demand for it. So maybe there's a way where you can teach people that instead of just doing it. But there's a lot of different times when it's scary to sacrifice profit. And especially like my dad, he's an accountant for a concrete company back home. And he's like always managing money and looking at like costs and like, how can we cut costs? But that's not how you make more money. Like cutting costs doesn't do anything. Like I look at my costs probably 2 or 3 times a year and I find like 1 or 2 little subscriptions that I can cancel. It's just a complete waste of time. Like I want to spend my time like growing. So I'm not really afraid of costs anymore by any means. Yeah.
I would say most of the work from the gym happens when you're asleep at night. Like taking that small hit, or I guess it's not really a hit, but like that relaxation and like kind of like reevaluating and cutting something, it turns into like now you have a much more stronger base to increase.
And life works like that too, right? So like if you've ever seen, I don't know anything about science, but if it was like Isaac Newton or whoever with like the 4 balls that people put in their office and they pull one back and it hits all the other ones forward. Or if you watch the football, like Tom Brady needs the ball to be snapped backwards before he can throw a 50-yard pass. Literally anything, like even in baseball, like if you're hitting, you need to load your weight backwards in order to put energy forwards. That's science. Like everything needs to go back before it can go forward. And that's why we've been organic for a long time. I mean, the profit's nice and all, but like we needed to really fine tune some things and like build a new program. So now that we're going to scale again, we can just start dumping money into something that I know is like fine tuned and is on point, and we're not going to have any problems when we start putting a lot of ad spend behind it.
I will say he made us feel very confident in that too. So like I will say like my when I first got there, we were running ads. So there was people coming in, like constant like shifting, doing stuff, and then we had like a period of time where he's like, we're not going to run ads, but like this is to like, you know, basically like let's fortify the walls before we build. Like he's used the skyscraper metaphor a couple times, but like let's fortify the walls before we put like floor number 3 on this thing, and then a $400,000 a month I think is a pretty good way to start floor number 3. Yeah, to start. What you would think is like, oh my God, we're cutting back, right? But it was only to like, again, shoot back up. So.
Yeah, it just built us a new floor, right? Because like we were trickling down from 305 into 170, but like 170 was a pretty safe floor. But I was like, I know we can get that higher. We just need a new offer. And there's a lot of people that are wanting this offer. We just haven't provided it. So we built it, and now our new floor is like 225. Like that's the worst we can do. And then we start running these ads, and I think McCullen, since all his time now is on the phone, I think we can get to 400 with just that.